I'd like to call board review to order and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please. For board review.
Okay, so Maloney,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Ermeling,
Here.
Jordan,
Here.
Wyland, Sagami.
Here.
Now we're gonna adjourn the board review to June 16, 2025. Looking for a motion?
A motion to adjourn the board of review to June 16th, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Ermeling, second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. So adjourned to June 16th for the board review. Now calling Board of Trustees to order, and we're looking for a roll call
Maloney,
here.
Cronin,
Here.
Ermeling,
Here.
Jordan,
Here.
Wyland, Sagami.
Here. Okay. I'm asking if the board would like to entertain moving 46 to the front. If not, we'll go in order, but 46 before public works or before public comment.
I move to move 46. to current.
Okay, so we're all okay with that? Okay, so 46.
Motion. Was that a motion and a-
Motion by Ermeling, second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jeez, so carried. Thank you. So moving to 46. We're at resolution number 2025010, accepting the Speak Your Peace project and the 9 tools of civility. I'll get a chance to read that over, but Jamie, do you want to move on that or?
There was just a RFC in the packet, but it's a method that's been implemented across the state. I thought it might be a helpful method for us to adopt here. Certainly, if it's something that we proceed with, we could make a larger poster for the room that would show the 9 points of civility. I can just bring it up on the screen so everyone can see, but it's just agreeing that these are when we are speaking and at meetings using public comment or having interactions with each other, we would use these 9 values, principles to guide those conversations.
Could this also be used just day to day with our entire staff?
Certainly.
So I mean, so if we have a board, if we have a poster here, I mean, I read this over here. I mean, I'd like to have this up where I work. You know, I mean, I'm probably gonna entertain it. It's just something that reminds, we have all kinds of motivational posters up, you know, how we're supposed to act, but I read this over several times and I thought, yeah, I like this. And it's being used in other municipalities right now. It started, where did I see that? It was
In Duluth Superior.
Duluth Superior, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of this is just common sense. We're all adults.
Mhm.
And I value and respect the dialogue.
Mhm.
I am concerned with this policy, that it would unintentionally suppress free expression, particularly when it comes to holding firm or opposing views. Adopting this as a formal policy could limit or discourage the ability to fully exercise our First Amendment rights. So I'll make a motion to postpone indefinitely the item regarding the Speak Your Peace Civility Project.
Motion by Wyland to, how'd you say it? To
I move to postpone
indefinitely. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion fails. Is there another motion?
I'm just a second here. Make sure I see it correctly. I just lost it. I make a motion to adopt Speak Your Peace language for official, okay, move, I have family found it, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
A motion to approve resolution number 2025-010, promoting the use and adherence to the Speak Your Peace Civility Project.
Motion by Ermeling. I hear a second.
Second.
A second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion?
Well, I
Oh,
guess
go ahead.
I just want to say that I don't see where this would, if I have an objection to something, I guess I would object to it without being.
Okay. Any more discussion? Any more discussion?
I just feel like something like this should maybe be in a high school, but not in a board meeting.
Mhm.
It's, or it just seems childish.
Mhm. Okay, so noted. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
I do.
Okay, so carried. All right, 46, so you're gonna go through, I mean, is there like a webpage or something like that that you can get some of the stuff from, or? I mean, do they have rights to the copy, or can we just create copy?
I will speak to them about how they would like to reflect the bottom. The poster that I had included was from the Southwood County Community Foundation. That was their rendition of the poster, but we'll have that conversation. We could also just, again, in prior municipalities, they had it on the bottom of their agenda, just as a friendly reminder that we adopt the 9 points of civility when having conversations with each other.
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving back to public comments. I've got Jim Pincinel first, Patrick Schneider second, and I've got something to read from business owners on Schofield Avenue. So Jim? Go ahead.
Sure. Jim Pincinel, 502 Arrow Street, Weston. So we just adopted some rules and stuff. I assure you that will not limit my First Amendment right to speak here this evening, so if your feelings will get hurt, that's too bad. The truth hurts sometimes. And so number 9, I think on there was be responsible. You can be responsible for your actions. Thank you. This evening, I'd like to address the Board of Trustees with a few concerns. I hand-delivered a letter in response to the false statements made by appointed trustee Zagami to the Clerk's Department well in advance of the May Public Works meeting to be read into the record. There were multiple individuals, including Administrator Jamie Gaber and Husheng Zagami, who approached me asking me not to make this information public. Husheng even went so far as to come to my place of employment during the workday and demand an immediate private meeting regarding that topic. In the meeting, he refused to accept accountability for his actions. These actions are relating to the fact that he wasn't getting his emails that was in the letter that was not entered into the record, and passed blame off to the cell phone technicians who installed software on his phone. The last time I checked, it's not the responsibility of an AT&T employee to ensure your village email is working properly after a device was upgraded. That would be the duty and responsibility of the official himself. Then, later in that conversation, it was admitted by appointed trustee Zagami that it was almost 30 days that his email was not working. How irresponsible and completely unacceptable is that? A reasonable individual would find it odd that they got no messages on their new device in 30 days. That's a month. No spam emails, no meeting invites or notices for meetings which take place weekly, not a single email. Equally as embarrassing is the fact that Jamie Gaber made multiple attempts to hide this information from the public. She refused to add it to the packet for written communications and refused to allow any committee member or the Public Works Committee to read the letter I submitted. If that's not going above and beyond to do everything in one's power to hide mistakes, protect parties who have been derelict in their duties, and just plain being dishonest to the hardworking folks of Weston, I don't know what is. You'll note that in the meeting minutes, any attempt to expose anything happening here is purposefully hidden from the record. I made several comments and statements at the last meeting. I assure you, I said more than one sentence of trustee Pensignal to resign, but that's all you'll find in the minutes. There were reasons, there were receipts to back up the statements I made, but none of that made it into the record. Just one sentence. A very similar thing is currently occurring in the clerk's department. Meeting packets are being updated, and there is no indication thereof that this happened online. For example, the planning commission packet was updated 2 times and 194 pages of content were added. Yes, 194. The packet tripled in size. And the clerk's response to this was, state statute only requires us to note it is an amendment if the content of the agenda changed. Again, completely unacceptable. Then if you look at the website, in a hidden box where old versions are kept, none of the dates and times are correct. Somehow all 3 versions were uploaded at exactly the same time according to the website, which I will testify under oath is not true. I have a timestamped downloaded copy of the document to prove the malfeasance and misrepresentation by the clerks. Oh, by the way, this Board of Trustees packet was also updated with no notice properly posted on the village website. This is completely dishonest and unacceptable. Speaking of this agenda, how could we put in less effort on some of these agenda items? There's not a single piece of information about the appointment of a new trustee. Notice I said appointment, right? Now, at the April 15th meeting, I even did my own research and cited options that the board had from the state statute. We chose to not even take the easy way out and copy and paste that information for the meeting here tonight. How about those committee appointments? At least we posted a blank copy showing the vacancies, except how does this allow the board to analyze the proposed appointments prior to the meeting? That is the exact purpose of having the information available prior to the meeting. You may recall board action was taken to direct exactly this to happen. And on April 15th, 2025, Mark Maloney specifically said, no one will see this list until the meeting. A complete lack of transparency. Either the president didn't perform his required duties of office and select the appointments prior to the meeting, or he didn't think the public or the board should know his choices prior to the meeting, so that they could just be rubber stamped like last month. On the topic of cell phones at meetings, are you kidding me? Is this elementary school? Are we gonna pass a basket around and collect phones? And you can just have them back at that time.
1 minute.
Thank you. Let's just let adults be adults. That phone, it is a computer, and I don't see anyone collecting the laptops placed in front of you all. Silence the device to prevent an interruption, but if the chiefs get a call on a fire or an active shooter, I'd expect them to be available to take it. If the president gets a call from his wife that she has a medical emergency, I'd also expect him to take it. I have some other points, but I'm gonna wrap this up because I feel like you're gonna cut me off here. So I would hope that there's accountability and responsibility taken for these actions and items. You owe that to the citizens of Weston. I am no longer one of you. I am one of them asking you to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just a 5-minute public comment, so. Okay, so moving on to Patrick Snyder. Update?
Yes, an update. That rules of civility would be good in our committee hearings, especially to the audience. They can get a little rude sometimes. I just wanted to come and give you some updates. The budget motions are in. We turned them all in to the Joint Finance Committee and our budget buddies. And right now, our first kind of budget caucus is Wednesday. And in the beginning, probably the first couple of weeks here, will be more budgets for agencies and really not our personal budget motion asks. That'll probably come a little later in the first part of June or not. I did put my budget motion in for $7 million for the park, Kennedy Park, to help you get started on phase 1. Brent Jacobson put in the budget motion for 4.3 for the police department and that construction. And again, usually we get notified once it comes through. Now, those are the asks that we have. I asked, to give you an example, when I asked for I believe it was 10 million for the Forensic Regional Science Center. They gave me 5. So I asked for 7. Hopefully, you know, we get at least 5 maybe. And we'll go from there. But it's one-time money, and so I think I'm feeling pretty good about it. I don't know, do you take what you want to ask me questions, or I don't know if you can, or in public comments, you probably can. If you do, just call me or something like that. Plus, I'll give one more update on a side note. This Wednesday at 11, we will have the executive hearing or committee to put bills out, and Braden's Law is going to be part of that bill on Wednesday. We had to make an adjustment. Some of my members had heartburn over felony murder being the term used, because they didn't think it was that I had one lawyer in the Senate that was could hold the whole dang thing up. And so I went to the parents and talked about it, and really it turned out for the better, because now the bill is written where a sextortion that would lead to death will be a Class B felony, which is 60 years, while felony murder was 15. So it actually will work out a little better, and they were happy with it. So look for that to get voted out, and then hopefully be on our floor in early June.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate what you do.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Thank you. I gotta run to another meeting.
All right.
Busy.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
So we got a letter at the village here from some business owners. This one here is from Lucy Cota. And I believe she's a part owner of the gym on Schofield Avenue. Village of Weston, I understand the construction on Schofield Avenue is necessary for the good of the village. Unfortunately, it wreaks havoc for business owners along that road. Our business, the Gym Bar at 3012 Schofield Avenue, is one of them. It's difficult and confusing for our patrons to enter and exit the premises. I feel our business is already suffering. As of February 2025, we increased our drink prices because of increased costs by our vendors. I initially thought we were headed in the right direction as far as making a reasonable profit to make improvements to the business. I regret scheduling those improvements. As of now, we have approximately a 25% less in sales as we did last year without the increase in prices. That is a significant amount of revenue. You may be thinking that we have lost business for other reasons besides the construction. I assure you, I have records to show that our sales in April of 2025 are up from the last year in April, meaning that without the construction process, we would have been running at a profit. We all know the mortgage, WPS, garbage pickup, phone and internet, pest control, utilities and maintenance expenses have either not changed or have gone up. I'm not sure how long this project is supposed to take, but I'm concerned for all of the businesses in its path. I'd like to think we could get some compensation for our hardship. It's going to be a long summer at this rate. Thank you for your time. Lucy Cota, Carrie Pazak, the Gym Bar, 3012 Schofield Avenue, Weston, Wisconsin. Just in the record there. Thanks for printing this off, Pam. Okay. Any more public comment? Online or anybody else in the audience?
No one came off mute.
No, okay. All right, moving on to minutes from previous meetings. Number 7, approval of April 21st, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling. Second by Zagami. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Acknowledge reports, minutes from boards, committees, and commissions. What's your pleasure?
Motion to acknowledge 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 18.
Motion by Ermeling to acknowledge 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 18.
I'll second.
Second by Cronin. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Acknowledge reports from departments. What's your pleasure? Want to go one by one? Anybody have any questions or get it up on the floor and then have questions?
Motion to approve items number 20 through 28. get it on the floor.
Motion by Cronin to approve 20 through 28.
I'm sorry.
Acknowledge.
Yep.
Excuse me. Is there a second to acknowledge?
Second.
Second by Zagami. On the question, any questions from administrator down to technology? Anything that any of the directors wanna, anything extra to add?
I want to make sure Clerk Bram gets to add.
I just wanted to add, we're gonna have our first annual free rabies clinic with the help of Chief Hunt. We have secured a date of June 14th from 9 in the morning till noon. And we'll have it open to all 4 municipalities that are under Mountain Bay Metro Police Department. And we're going to offer a free rabies and microchip to residents. And their pet has to be licensed for 2025.
How's it, I mean, do you have like a mobile station here or how's it?
We'll
work?
have it here and we've teamed up with Wausau Animal Hospital. They're going to provide a vet and a tech and some volunteers to help
Oh.
What date is it?
on Saturday, the 14th of June.
At all 4 municipalities?
No, just
Or
here.
just here?
Yep,
And
it'll
then
just be
it's gonna
here,
move
but
around?
it's open for the town, the
Got it.
village of Weston.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Rothschild and the city of
So
Schofield.
they can come here. Got it.
Yep, residents from those municipalities can come here and take advantage of that.
Gee, I saved myself a lot of money.
Mhm.
I said I could have saved myself a lot of money. Too late.
Okay, anything else? Anybody, any questions? Hearing no more, all those in favor to acknowledge 20 through 28? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Work product transmittals. Number 29, acknowledge, you want, let's just do, acknowledge April building permits. Move to approve by Zagami.
Second.
Second by Jordan. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Number 30, acknowledge April budget status. What's your pleasure? Moved by Ermeling. Second by Zagami. Anything on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 31, acknowledge code enforcement report.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Jordan, acknowledge.
I'll second.
Second by Cronin. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. And 32, acknowledge quarterly development agreements report.
Move to acknowledge.
Move to acknowledge by Jordan,
Second.
second by Wyland. Any more on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. My fault. I should have done all 4 together. Consent agenda, request to pull items out of consent consideration. How do you want to handle all these? Let's just see here.
Nothing much, but-
License.
Motion to approve consent items 34 through 41.
Motion to approve the consent agenda from 34 through 41 by Ermeling,
I'll second.
second by Cronin. Anything on the question? I have one, Reliance Fuel LLC DBA Fuel on 60. Why don't I know what it is?
The
I
store.
think that's one, the store,
Oh,
yeah.
it's the store. Okay, just a different, okay, got it.
It's sold to.
Oh, sounds good. All right, any more questions? Anybody? Nothing? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Ordinances, number 43. Ordinance number 25-008, an ordinance amending chapter 90 vegetation, section 90.102, protection of trees and shrubs of the municipal code for the village of Weston, Marathon County, Wisconsin. It's your pleasure. Move to approve by Zagami,
I'll second.
second by Cronin. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 44, ordinance number 25-009, an ordinance to approve the rezoning of a 27.8220 acre property located directly east of 163905 River Road from AR agricultural and residential to RR2 rural residential 2 acre zoning district, Village of Weston, Marathon County, Wisconsin.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Cronin. Second by Zagami. God bless you. Anything on the questions?
That's the property right on Plummer River and.
Partway through. It's not on the corner, it's the next one over.
Okay,
Yep.
but it was originally owned by the same family.
Maybe.
I think it
Yeah.
used to be a doctor's.
Okay. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolutions 45, resolution number 2025-009. Authorizing resolution for special assessments on Schofield Avenue. What's the pleasure?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Cronin. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 46, we've got finished. Unfinished business. 47, discussion and or action update on expanding East Nick Avenue.
Mr. President, before there would be a motion, there was a RFC in the packet regarding a meeting that staff had with the Village of Croninwater and with the developer. Gary is also here in the audience tonight. I think what we're looking for is on the second page of that RFC, page 213 in the packet, were some questions that we just would kind of like to walk through to give us some direction on moving forward, continuing to move forward with this. So the first question is, does the Board of Trustees still feel positively about the subdivision development on the north side of East Nick Avenue? And the historical information that we've had about our previous conversations about this was included in the packet.
Okay. You want to just discuss or put it up on the floor? What do you want to do?
I think we need to discuss.
Okay. Questions?
Well, I guess
Go ahead.
this is one of those things where you, in a rock and a hard place. This comes up all the time, and part of it is being Croninwater, of course. Developing in that area, and it's just not a good, we did fix part of that road a couple of years ago.
And we will continue, not to interrupt, I apologize. We'll continue to fix the segments, to improve that road through our sections. We've already talked about that with the Village of Croninwater, sort of incrementally as that road continues to get better, we'll inch that out.
Okay,
Probably more feet than inches, but continue that on. But one of the big questions then that we had is if the developer contributed to the construction of the road through Ringel and Reed, because that last third mile is Ringel and Reed, would the board be comfortable with working through an intergovernmental agreement for the paving of that road in another municipality? And if that agreement could not be achieved or a long-term payback could not be worked out between Ringel and Reed, are we comfortable with us being responsible for the paving of that last third mile in those other municipalities?
at our expense.
Correct.
If they would not approve a resolution to allow us to assess.
We can't assess, they don't want to invest, and usually always we volunteer to do that, and I think they should pay their share because that's the road they're gonna use.
And develop,
We develop it, they're gonna
But-
drive
but
on
they-
it, they're gonna use
but they could develop their portion of land too.
it. I think they should,
Yeah, exactly.
or they gotta pay for it.
So at one of the last meetings, I'm not sure if I was here for it, but I thought I heard some discussion that Michael had brought up. It's the second to the last bullet point. Would the BOT prefer to have an impact fee if the quarry is approved, pay for the road construction and paving and recoup costs through the fee? Did we ever come up to a number? I remember talking about it. We never did.
We haven't come up to a number because the piece about the quarry would be within the Village of Croninwater, so we wouldn't have approval over that. That process would have to go through the Village of Croninwater. And I don't wanna speak for the developer, but I think then there's also the conversation about if that would be approved and what that number would be and how long that timeline would be depending on the success of the quarry, how much is coming out, what's the need for that product at that point in time.
So those truck wouldn't drive on Weston Road? Because if they driving on it, we gotta improve that road for that kind of a traffic.
That would be that was the purpose of the impact fee. If the village were to front the cost to upgrade the road so that could be driven on, that would be a mechanism to get paid back is, 5 cents a load or 5 cents a ton or whatever the number would be until, the village was made whole again, would be the purpose of the impact fee.
But we'd have to make that agreement through Cronewater.
Yeah, it'd have to be like a 3-party agreement, us, Cronewater and the developer, or we would. I believe we would have to financially take on the role of financing the road. And talking with Cronewater, it sounded like that would be the only option. Didn't sound like they were necessarily willing to do that part, or maybe, so, yeah, so and then we'd have to have the agreement that the impact fee would be with Cronewater and they would have to then reimburse us for our costs, so.
We can't do any of it unless there is an agreement signed.
They have to assess it and pay us
Everybody
back.
agree with all the costs and
Yep.
agree with the impact fee. Then we can go ahead with the project. Until then, I don't think we should do anything.
Now, is this gonna then take it out to Jay?
Correct, that'd be running it out to Jay.
So then they wouldn't be using,
They wouldn't be using East Nick and Kamichik to get to
which
shore.
would make sense because that poor road, even if it's fixed, get that kind of truck traffic on it, it's not gonna stay fixed long. That's a bad area.
I would like to see it go through. I know there's some public safety issues down there, especially in the spring with getting fire apparatus and things of that nature in there. And I'm sure there's some property owners who are frustrated with that situation as well, but at the same time, I do feel that the town of Reed and Ringgold, albeit we need to be able to special assess, or I'm not comfortable doing that.
All the residents are Cronewater residents. And it's, all those building permits were approved by Cronewater with, I don't believe, much talking with us,
No.
right? So Chief, how often do you go back there and take a look at that and assess that?
In the spring, I usually go there once the thaw kind of starts.
Okay.
Usually go back once a year.
And we're on the call for that. If one of those homes goes, it's us.
Depends what side of the road it's on,
Oh,
but
so these are on Cronewater.
if it's on Cronewater's side, it's a pretty strong probability that we will be called for mutual aid, but they will be the primary department.
Okay.
Even if that were to happen, we would probably be the first one there anyways, because.
Very
of-
possible, yes,
Yeah.
because of the location.
Is town of Ringgold being involved in any of this discussion?
They were involved, we had a meeting all together, but again, it's not that they did not express being opposed, how they just are not, they cannot be a financial contributor.
Correct. And Ringgold.
Yes, both Ringle and Reed were involved in that meeting.
And Cronewater was a different administration at the time. Well, the public works are still there.
It was the same staff members
The-
that.
The last talk I had was with a different president, and the trustee that was here is gone too.
Well, is there
So-
any part of this road, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to visualize where it all goes. Is any of that other than that section where we have residents moving in? Is any of that road going to be in Cronewater? Or is that all in Weston and then Reed and Regal, if it extends?
Maybe Michael, yeah, if you
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah, so Nick, the center line of Nick is the boundary between Weston and Cronewater. So the properties on the north side of the road are Weston, the south side of the road is Cronewater. So the road is a shared road between us and Cronewater.
And they're not gonna contribute anything to improving it with
No,
issuing building permits?
so as over say the last 3-4 years, we've worked with the Cronewater Public Works Department where their equipment, their manpower, and we have then billed them for use of like our base course. As we've, kind of gone with an 1/8 of a mile, 1/4 mile, kind of every year, every other year with them to get that road continue moving east. So, I mean, we have worked with them. to continue building that road east, but I think we're about a mile yet before we hit the, yeah, maybe a mile and a quarter before we
We are
actually hit.
still, are you talking to the Public Works Department now?
Correct, yeah, and that's who, that was part of who we
Okay.
met with.
Was that one, and that's who was here when I was here at that meeting. Prior to that, the meeting I had with a past president and a past trustee. That trustee went back to the board and said, Weston wants it so bad, let them pay for it. And that's kind of was on hold for a while, but then we had this meeting here with all 4 municipalities, which I actually thought went pretty well. So can I ask Gary if you had any recent conversation with Cornell or where they are?
Just since our last meeting that we had right here at Village.
Oh, that's the last one? Okay.
Yeah, we had a meeting in the, another room over, I can't remember what we call it. but we
The
had a
reading
meeting.
room.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that basically was, they were gonna go back to their committee, you guys are gonna go back to your, committee and see where things are at, if it's a go or not. Otherwise, we're gonna pull out of it. And we just need to know. I know there was some interest in it for, safety in fire trucks, ambulance. And if there wasn't any, movement forward to try to push it through, because I think it's been several attempts to put it through, but it's very difficult because there's 4 municipalities.
Right, right.
And that's why it probably hasn't gotten anywhere, as it has in the past.
Yeah, Barb?
Okay, but I understand Nick Avenue is half and half or whatever, and you're working on that with them to improve Nick, which I'm very happy because that road is at times. But my question then is Cronenwetter involved at all in the extension of that road?
That's where the thought of the impact fee came in. You know, and they were, you know, we kind of roughed out some numbers of what it would cost to pave a road and do some of that work too. So that was numbers they were gonna take back again to their board committee to see what financial contribution they'd be willing to have.
Okay, what is, I guess I'm kinda
So
lost
yeah, we're still waiting for them to say, yes, we are 100% in on this and we will pay our fair share. If that's the
Okay.
question.
And I think
With-
there might,
with them.
with the other municipalities, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but if there was a contribution from the developer to bring the road up to where it could be paved in the other municipalities, that might be the contribution. But then the paving, we would have to discuss between likely us and Cronenwetter. But getting the road up to that level where it could be paved in Ringgold and Reed might be an option. But what we'd have to discuss, because we don't have control over whether or not the quarry would go in, I don't know that it would be both bringing it up to the standard to be paved and the impact fee. Like there'd be potentially maybe a contribution, but maybe not both.
Would it have to be paved initially?
That's a question on here. And could it be gravel? And if we made that determination, how long would we allow that?
Well, is Nick,
Nick is all gravel.
I was just gonna say, I can't recall Nick having any pavement on it, so.
Yeah, I know that.
I thought they just did some, 4 or 5 years ago, they just seal coated and.
No, we didn't seal coat it. We dug out a bunch of the clay soil and rebuilt it so that it during the spring thaw, it didn't just turn into mud. But, you know, so we have,
After you turn,
yeah,
at that 90-degree turn, after you turn there, I thought there was some asphalt in there.
I don't believe Kamichak is.
no,
paved.
it's all gravel.
Well,
Kamichak is not paved from Weston Avenue. So that's gravel all the way. Yep.
so it wouldn't necessarily have to be paved at this point in time. I don't know how driving big trucks on that unpaved road would work, but.
I mean, I'm comfortable with it being gravel. There's another part of that question that says for how long, and I guess I don't really know how we can put an answer on that, because if the road goes through and then there's not a lot of development down there, I mean, it doesn't, why pave it?
Mhm.
And then maybe at that point in time, Ringo and them would have to be looking at what, if it's their road technically, in their village or town.
Would there not have to be some paving coming off of J though, to try to keep
Yeah,
the gravel from going on to?
I believe the county requires a certain distance. I don't know if it's 100 feet or 100, I mean, it's not a lot.
Okay,
How
So,
would we
I mean,
remove that?
onto Comanche,
From like Nick,
yeah.
from Jay, I mean.
Okay, from G, certainly, yes,
that would be in
yes.
Reeds and Ringles area.
Yeah.
But even shouldn't that happen from Weston Avenue to Comanche too?
Shorey to
I'm
Comanche.
sorry, Shorey, yeah.
Yeah, there is a little piece of asphalt there.
Okay, so then would the impact fee pay for that pavement? I guess I'm lost.
So that'd be a question of what do we want, if we want that route, what would we want it to cover? Would we want it to cover? You know, everything from building the road to paving or just building a road to a gravel surface? I guess these are questions that we don't necessarily have well defined, so we're trying to understand. If we wanna create an agreement, what are the parameters that we're trying to fit within?
Well, I would have a problem. I understand. I think it would be great if this could go through, don't get me wrong. But I think the taxpayers of Weston would have a real problem if we ended up paving a road or without getting reimbursed in other municipalities. That I don't think would fly real well. It wouldn't with me.
No, and that's the same, I guess, concern I have. So,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
So
Shane.
we already accept the fact Ringel is not gonna pay and is okay, right? It seems to me.
I don't
through
know
all
about the
discussion, you
okay
know.
part. We're just explaining that they
Well,
said that they would not contribute.
I know, we talk about it, we talk about all the municipality, but not Ringel. I think everybody should pay their share, that's what I'm saying. I think it's a good project, but at the same time, we can't finance the project, that's all it is to it.
We're gonna have a meeting with Cornwater again.
Yeah, and get my, so I'm, the developer has already helped bring that road from J to wherever it is. in-
to the Weston Cronin-Wetter limits,
Okay, bringing it up to grade.
essentially building a gravel road.
Okay, and Cronenwetter and Weston right now is working on improving Nick.
Yeah, we have about a mile left.
Okay, so we're handling Nick in intergovernment type work things, which is great. The question then and excuse me if I gotta get my brain straight here. The question is that strip. Now, the developer said they would maybe bring that up so it could be a road. But now is it just that pavement that needs to go from J to Nick or whatever? Is that the only thing then it is in question?
Yeah, I mean, is that a requirement? Would we want them to pave it? Would we require them to pave it? Is it, a question of we're fine with it if it's just for a mine, but if all of a sudden it goes from the ag zoning or to a residential zoning, do we change that? Like, I guess just understanding. Or do we say that's great, we're building a road that connects and we're happy with that and win for us, like.
I mean, it's gravel right now, and if we gravel all the way, but you're saying there's just a small patch from J.
Yeah.
That the county
You can
would
kind of pretend it
require.
doesn't exist, yeah.
So that would be a little, whatever that cost is.
Yeah.
What would Weston's cost be then? What is the
Or,
impact fee?
the impact fee would be if we wanted them to pay for any additional upgrades to the road. Or, I mean, and that was if we were borrowing the funds and building the road, but if we're not doing that and the developer says, I will just build this third of a mile and be done, and now I have access out to J. I guess us and Cronin-Wetter still then have to build our portion of Nick, which we can do.
Well, I would say we're doing that anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, it's just how quickly,
Well-
the timeline changes if all of a sudden there's.
Are we having the largest section of this road?
It's equal to Cronin-Wetter as far as the road goes.
And Jen, there isn't what's our requirement in if the zoning changes on that property and it becomes a subdivision, is there a requirement for the paving on Nick? Or is the requirement just for within the subdivision?
It's just in the subdivision as far as I know.
Okay.
Yep, Steve?
I guess my thought is the rest of the road is gravel right now. So if we're gonna push the road through, we should only use that impact fee to get the road to the level, to meet the level that it's, the rest of it is at currently. I don't know that it would be, because at some point, the rest of that road would have to be paved as well, and I don't know if that would necessarily be the right thing to do to force that on somebody else via an impact fee. I'm fine with just bringing it to gravel. I would be happy with that.
Create a lot of dust in there.
It's already gravel. It's already,
The
yeah.
thing is, the trucks are gonna go out to Jay, they aren't gonna go down Nick.
yeah.
It doesn't have that much traffic at the present time. We improve that road, the traffic gonna increase and they're gonna do mining in there. That's extra traffic. And that create the dust.
Yes, Joe?
So I'm okay with it being a gravel road also, and the reality is that if we don't move this forward, nothing's gonna happen and we're gonna miss an opportunity to continue to have property developable that makes sense. And the reality is that there's a product available, that gravel, that is needed in the community, because where do we get it from? I mean, somebody has to put up with some amount of dust, as Husheng states. But the reality is that typically the winds are westerly. And whatever dust is generated, I don't think is gonna impact the residents that are west of that area very dramatically. So I'd be good with bringing the road up to gravel and see where so is the quarry is subject to approval by Winter? Yes. Yeah, we need the approval, make sure the road can go through. Before we even attempt to apply for the approval, because there's so much cost involved. Engineering and designing. We don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. But we also, in the package, there should be maps that we show how much upland which we had to enter. Nick from MTS had done some calculations on properties that were developable on the western side versus the northern side. I believe there's some, I can't obviously read it from here, but I believe there's like 500 and like 550 acres. Potentially both sides. One side are more developable upland than the other side. For acreage, but there's a significant amount of developable property there.
That was gonna be my question, is that area is so wet, what is developed, you know? But what is the time frame on this? I mean, if we're working with Cronenwetter to get that part of Nick up to where we're gonna extend it, is my correction?
We talked 3 to 4 years.
So we aren't going to have to get that road up to grade tomorrow. I mean,
No.
we can continue working on it, getting it there. And then if the developer gets it from where we end and Ringle and they're okay with us putting a road through there, as long as they don't have to pay for it.
Correct, yeah,
No,
it's
that's
the
definitely true.
general,
Well, I just don't wanna find all of a sudden they say, no, we don't want the road and we've agreed to do all this. I mean, I just think we're agreeing to do Nick no matter what. We have to.
So back in the day, it was probably maybe 10 years ago, before the potato guy, Mark, what's the gentleman, he bought all the property on James. Mike?
Carter's.
Oh, Mike Carter,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mike had bought the 110 that we proposed to purchase. years back. So Ringle and Reed, when we approached them on it, they were under the impression that, they told us this a few years later, that I got a call about 2 years after our offer was gone and Mike had purchased the property. They called and asked if we were still willing to contribute to building it. And that's what our proposal was to contribute half to build the road. And see if the 4 municipalities, one would help contribute the other $50,000 or $100,000 towards like 25,000 apiece to get the road extended to J. And we would pick up half of it. Contingent on us being able to make the materials right on site there in order to put the breaker rock in and or the road base to extend it to J. There is some upland buildable property on each one of the parcels on the north side of the extension and the south side extension, but would need some wetland permits for driveway across, because there's upland behind it, might be wetland along the boundary. Or the road boundary. So, when that was done, they were willing to, they called us asking to, if we were still willing to contribute. At that time, we didn't have property. So we ended up, the property came into play like 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years later again. And we ended up buying the 110 and bought an 80 across on the western side. And that's where we proposed to do a residential development on the western side. And do a quarry on the south side, Grovewater side, in the end result to be developed homes around water or ponds. So at that point, when we got back involved with Ringle and Reed, then Ringle and Reed thought and got with their attorneys that they were responsible for building that road. And then they were told that they were not.
Well, that's pretty wild.
So anyway, then Ringle and Reed, when we had several meetings, they just said that they don't have any, they're more than happy to see the road go through, but they don't want to pay a dime for it, to get put in. And, they said I think it was when Jack Dolman was still in there, Jack had just mentioned that, they would be interested in allowing assessments to be done if somebody were to build and utilize the property and utilize the road to build on their property. But it would be a delayed assessment. But they weren't looking to, be willing to assess their property owners right off the bat. That's kind of what their stance for.
For the 2 municipalities, because the 2 landowners at the time said yes. But the 2 municipalities didn't want to do that, right?
Well, no, at the time it was, gentleman from Lightning, he didn't want to pay for any assessments.
But Carter said yes.
What's that?
Mike Carter said yes.
Mike said, yeah, he was, but he didn't want to, he said immediately he didn't want to pay for some assessment right away unless he were the developer.
Yes, yeah,
So,
after that,
then
yep.
he was willing to pay for it, because I think they realized that now they have access to more property. If they were to sell, they could get more money for the property where it might be. So that's as far as we got with that. Ringo, we have been to a couple of the meetings and they're not interested in extending the road. So when we talked with the village, I think there was some welcoming to it because of the extension of it to Jane, to relieve some of the traffic even from going back to Shorey Avenue and the vehicles that most people will try to hit Jane and get on the highway. Then have to wither their way through the gravel roads and get to the highway that way. And then secondly was the fire and safety. So we're just continuing on trying to figure out a cost expense to this, to see if it's even worth it for us to put an 80-acre subdivision, pave the subdivision, and then pay for another $300,000 to $500,000 worth of a road to get put in. The math just doesn't work for a while. So that's why we're asking where we're at. Otherwise, we'll just dispose of the property get rid of it.
So now, he isn't willing, you're not willing to provide the material for the extension?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Oh, okay.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that I was, because for me, I have no problem with our fixing up Nick, because it, with Cronenwetter, it needs it no matter what you have. But my concern would be that we can't ask our taxpayers to pay for an extension in another municipality.
I completely understand the process.
Yep.
I 100%
You know.
understand that.
Okay. So,
So
Well, we don't
I
even,
don't know
I
where
don't think
we're
we need a
at.
motion on this.
I
just-
think we
it was
need to
just
talk to
direction.
Colonel Wetter heavily, which I will. I'll take that task on, maybe Michael and I and Jamie or something. Have a meeting with them and reach out again to Ringel. I think, is Al Christensen still there? I thought he wasn't gonna run, but he did.
Last year, I don't know if
But
he.
I thought he did. And
there's a
then,
new guy.
I know Jackie Dahlman's off of Reed, so there's somebody else. Blair, is it Henry Blair on one of them?
Might be.
So we'll check on that. All right. So, why don't we just put this on to the next agenda, please?
Well, why don't we just say a future agenda depending
Right,
on.
right. Okay. Okay. All right, everybody okay with that?
Are we gonna do something in next month will happen
Yes,
then?
yes.
Okay.
I will do what I can and I'll report back to the board.
Okay.
Okay. 48, discussion and or action on reexamining the trustee stipend compensation as described in section 1.10 of the elected and appointed village officials handbook. There's been some discussion on this on, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe buyer's remorse or whatever you want to say, that some of the people that said yes to this maybe feel like maybe they wish they didn't. Some trustees are not accepting it. And so it's back up for discussion and or possible action. What's everybody's feeling?
You wanna go first, Barb?
Well, as everybody.
Go ahead,
knows,
Jane.
I'm,
Oh, okay.
okay, I'm not, I have not been and continue not to be in favor of this. I did some math, if we get paid for any board, committee meetings, special board meetings, and we have our salary and we have 12 board meetings, 1 board of review. On the average, we have, say, 3 committees. Some meet monthly, some meet quarterly, some meet on demand. But on the average, that's approximately 36 meetings a year. And 2 special board, we put that in just in case. Doing all of that, that would make it like 51 meetings. We would be getting paid $141 per meeting. However, if we don't, and I seem like I missed it here. If we only, we get paid for all these extra meetings and just our salary is based on 12 meetings a month plus board of review. That was over $400 and some per meeting that we would be getting paid, plus our committee. And that would come to about, at 38 meetings, about $1,900, which would be a total of $9,100 per year.
How much? What?
$9,100.
For all of the entire board?
Yes, no, per board member. If our salary was
No.
7,002,
The most we can make is $50 a meeting, period.
right,
So let's say,
Yeah, what
let's
if-
say on average you have 2. So if you have 2 committees that are off the board and off, whatever else, it's $1,200 a year per trustee, $1,200. Now, if it's 3 meetings a month, then it's $1,800 per trustee and per year. So I mean, it can't be more than $50.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
But if you have, say, I did an average of 3 meetings
Right,
a month,
Mhm.
just because some have more, some have less, and it came out to about 3. That is 36 meetings a year.
$1,800.
And you've got 2 special board meetings. Those were not included in our salary. So, that made it 38 meetings times 50. That's $1,900.
Right.
Okay, and I added our regular salary onto that. So that meant we would be getting 9,100 or approximately $178 per meeting. I mean, I'm sorry, $141 per meeting. But if we add on that we get paid for our meetings, that's where the $178 came in. And I guess I just feel that at 7,200, we're getting approximately $48 a meeting if we're including all the committees. And if we add committee meetings, then it's more. I just feel that I even did stuff where I threw in per hour, because if we have meetings when we review all the agenda items and everything, and that takes time. But I just feel we are ample paid. If you're here as having a job, then I guess you don't belong here. I'm here because I feel I wanna be part of the community and help things, and I feel we should be paid for our time, but I don't think we need to be paid $48 or whatever it is per hour or per meeting.
Okay,
I would
change?
be really careful with those numbers because you misspoke the last meeting, and it's all over next door. So I just want to start out by saying I find it frustrating that we're revisiting the trustee salary again and the stipend compensation after it was already passed by a 5-2 vote. While 2 members were absent at that meeting, the board followed proper procedure and made a clear decision. Reopening the decision without any new compelling reason undermines the process and disrespects the time and commitment trustees put into their roles. I also want to address some misinformation that's been circulating on next door. There was confusion following a previous meeting where Barb misspoke and implied that the trustees make $500 per meeting. That simply is not true. Trustees receive $514 net per month, and that amount covers both board and committee meetings combined, not to mention all of our time reading 300 pages on a weekend. With every other agenda. The only recent change, which was approved and added to the handbook, is a $50 stipend for additional unscheduled meetings, a fair acknowledgement of extra time and effort those meetings require. I'll be honest, I don't mean to bring age into this, but the priorities and daily demands of a 40-year-old are very different from 80. Our demographic investment interests in the community are vary significantly. For example, tonight is my son's first night back playing ball after a 5-month injury, and yet I'm here. I made a commitment to serve the board and my community, and I take that seriously. That's the level of time and dedication this role calls for. If a trustee is personally opposed to the stipend, then they're welcome not to submit the form. But one person's opinion, discomfort shouldn't override a vote that was properly passed or diminish the work of others are doing. Let's respect the vote process of each other. I'd like to leave the trustee compensation and stipend structure as currently stands, as previously approved by the board, with no further revisions or discussion at this time.
So is that a motion?
It is.
Did we have a motion up? No. So we went right into discussion? Okay, so we have.
You also wouldn't need a motion to remain as is.
to
I'm
what?
sorry, it wasn't a motion. It
Oh,
was
okay.
just to leave the trustee
Your opinion?
compensation the way
Okay.
it is, yeah.
So to leave it as is, we don't need a motion.
If you're not changing anything, it would just
No.
remain as is.
So we need a motion if someone wanted to bring it up to change. Okay?
but
Yep.
proper procedure.
Yep.
A motion can be brought up again if it was previously voted down, but only through a motion to reconsider. The motion to reconsider must be made by a member who voted on the prevailing
Yes.
side of the original vote,
By
which
five.
you were not.
By 5, yep.
That I
So
had
who were
mentioned.
who were the two negative votes?
You and
I
Mark,
was-
or Mark and Barb.
I was no on
I
this,
was?
so.
I thought so.
No, I don't think
Shane and I
No,
were.
no, Husheng,
I'm sorry.
Husheng and Barb,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Okay, so, Steve, myself, Jamie, or Joe would have to bring up this motion to rescind.
Let's look back at February's meeting, because I thought you and Barb were gone at February's meeting.
I have it right here. It's on page 229 in the packet.
I thought it was Mark.
Barb and Mark
Gone.
were not, did not vote.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And then it was myself, Joe, Jim Pincinot, Jamie Wyland, and Husheng Zagami that's all said yes.
oh, okay. So we were not a no, we just weren't here.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Check this.
Yeah, it's right there from the minutes.
Yeah, he's,
No, I don't,
Mhm.
I want to check the record. See what else.
Like the video?
Yeah.
We'd have to go back and pull the video. I mean, if you wanted to take a minute and do that, we could. It's on YouTube at one
Okay.
page.
Did you feel that you voted no?
I think I did.
Okay. And there was no roll call?
What was the vote?
Well, Jamie said 5 in affirmation and 2 no's, but you and I weren't here.
Right.
So I'm just saying, if,
So it would've
if
been
you
unanimous.
oppose to the stipend, just don't submit the form.
Mhm.
And for the record, I'm not even getting the stipend.
Right,
I
until the
have-
election. You
Well,
have
I
to run.
know.
I have to,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
be reelected again, so, just for the record.
Okay, so where does that leave Barb and I if we weren't here?
Well, I don't know that a motion to reconsider was brought up. It was asked to be placed on the agenda to re-examine the policy. So
Gotcha, okay.
if it would, I agree with trustee Wyland. If you made a motion to reconsider, that those are the parliamentary procedure rules.
That would have to be the 5 that voted yes. Not anybody that wasn't here or voted no.
You would have to have voted in the negative.
Oh, so not being here, is that a negative or just what?
I would have to go pull parliamentary procedure book, but we also don't necessarily abide by parliamentary procedure, so
Well, I know if I had voted no, I cannot make the
Right,
motion to bring
right.
it back.
Mhm.
I can second it, but I didn't vote, so, because I wasn't here.
it's also, it wasn't agendized as a motion to reconsider. It was talking about re-examining the policy.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Got it.
and when my misquote of the whatever, that I was saying meant if we got paid for our meetings, that's what it would be if we, for 7,200.
But that's not fair, Barb. Do you know how many parks meetings I've had for this $14 million project? That is not fair for you to sit there and make up your own formulas and figure out this random
That
number.
wasn't,
That is totally not fair. You don't know what I do.
Well, there's a lot of misstatements. I mean,
There is.
there's misstatements
So
about
what kind of
me getting
formula?
payback from the Hmong, a vote,
Well, there
and, you know,
Well,
for
I
that,
just
which,
said
which
that
is,
was-
which, I mean, I'm
Well,
not
that's
even,
fine. If
I'm
you
not
wanna
even gonna
go
talk
there,
about
Mark,
it
we
because it's
can,
just
but
so
not on the
ridiculous.
agenda.
Correct,
Right.
it isn't.
but I
But-
was.
But, as far as how
misspoke,
she
that's
talks, it's, and next door,
Well,
really?
she talked about
Wow.
a formula. That's not
Yeah.
even,
Mhm.
No, it wasn't a formula. I said if you
Mhm.
took 12
Okay.
it's
meetings,
Barb's formula.
Let's call it together here. So moving forward here, we need to put this on the next month's agenda to, or what?
and we're increasing our budget.
Are we really wasting
If
time
you
on
wanted
this?
it on next
We
month's
waste a lot of
agenda,
time on a lot of crap, so.
I agree.
what would be different than what was presented tonight? What would be something additional that you'd want to see in order to? That's not as part of this discussion this evening.
What does board feel?
I think you should maybe donate your stipend to
No, that's your feeling. You just said that that's our feeling,
whatever
so
you
that's
need to
yours.
do.
So how do we want to move forward as a board? Help me out here.
Well,
I think we should just leave it as is.
There's nothing to reconsider.
Okay, so then we're done, okay?
I guess
So with no talk, then we leave it alone.
I got one question to add. It sounds like Husheng has a question about what he voted.
Yep.
So I think at the minimum, that should be looked at for the next board.
Let's take a look at
We need
that
to
and bring it
amend
up to the
record
next board, at least
show
so,
that.
so we know how it was.
Yes.
There's a lot of votes.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be on the agenda.
There's a lot of votes that happen that you can't hear. You know, sometimes there's no acknowledgement, except for the no. And, you know, so that's how it gets recorded. So why don't we look at that and we'll bring that up and see, but right now there's nothing to bring back. Joe, yes?
Right.
Everybody else? Okay, done. 49, discussion regarding quarterly update on the Kennedy, did I miss one? No. Discussion regarding quarterly update on the Kennedy Park renovation and capital campaign. Who?
This isn't an action item, it's just the quarterly timeframe for us
Oh,
to
okay.
bring
Gotcha.
forward the updates. We do make these monthly at Parks and those are all included in the packet, but it's our cadence in the quarter to make sure that the board is seeing all of those documents.
Okay.
There's more on the agenda when we get to the bid opening.
Okay.
Just a question for Mike.
Yeah,
To look, what was the engineering fee for this project? 14,000 something? That was preliminary design or what?
No, REI's was, I'd say it was like
76.
76, I would say it's about 80,000, so, yeah.
It was 80,000?
Yeah, 76,000 is what Sean chimed in with there.
So the last building was about 60,000 something.
We had
In this one,
two change orders though, didn't we? We had the structural,
Yeah, I mean, those were pretty small. I mean, overall, I think we're probably just a little over 80,000.
I have my own update.
Mhm.
It's kind of lengthy. You'll like it though.
Yeah.
So Parks update, I want to address some concerns regarding the current park section in our Board of Trustees packet. First, there's outdated information, some copied and pasted from the previous packet with deadlines going back to March. We've seen the same content repeated for nearly 5 months and it's no longer helpful for our decision making. This outdated information was placed in 2 different sections, one under Parks, the other under Kennedy Parks update. The redundancy reflects poorly on the organization of the Parks Department and signals the need for stronger administrative oversight. The administrator should be strong or sorting through content to ensure the board is working with accurate, streamlined, and useful information so our time is used well and get results. Second, the recent listening session hasn't been properly acknowledged, despite the significant time and effort that went into making it successful. I'd like to begin by highlighting something positive. The Senate Budget Oversight Committee was highly receptive to our presentation. The energy in the room was hopeful, and it was clear that our community dedication made a strong impression. This was a rare and valuable opportunity to advocate directly for our vision for Kennedy Park, and we delivered. Sarah Olafson, Gabert, and I worked hard to plan and promote the event. Marketing materials created by Goful Nelson should have been included in this packet, along with supporting documents like the 3D renderings, photos of us standing in line, and direct video links. Speaking of standing in line, I personally stood in line for 5 hours, starting at 5 a.m. to ensure we were the first to speak during the session at NTC. No stipend. I could deliver a clear and local message. This might seem like a small or fun fact, but that reflects the level of effort we're putting in to move the Kennedy Park project forward. At the very least, these efforts deserve acknowledgement. We also had some great memorable moments that brought our message to life. Sarah's son wore a baseball uniform and PD, my golden retriever, was dressed in a team jersey. PD even made it into the Senate's Republican highlight video, which you can watch on Facebook. I have the link you can add to the packet. We delivered a strong 5-minute speech advocating for $7 million in funding towards the $14 million Kennedy Park project, half of what's needed to make this project happen. For transparency, the packet should include Goful Nelson materials, 3D renderings, related photos, and video links for the Wisconsin Eye. If you're not familiar with Wisconsin Eye, it's a nonprofit public affairs network that provides unedited state government coverage, allowing residents to follow proceedings firsthand. Do I have 5 minutes too? It's also important to
You can
know,
quit with that, you know,
Why?
we adopted the policy, why don't you just be nicer? Why do you have so much hatred?
I'm not.
Just be
I-
nicer.
This is all
Just be nicer, I
positive.
touched my phone to see what time it is, that's
This-
all I did.
this is
You're on
all
your
positive.
phone all night long.
This is all
I'm just
positive.
touching this,
Well, my kid's
723.
home alone, so I had to check on.
Well, Jesus, just so much hatred.
You're not, it's also important to note that this was the 5th and final listening session held across the state. And it took place right here at NTC. That should be reflected in the packet for context and recognition. So in closing, if you need links and materials, pictures, Facebook links, please let me know. And please remove the redundant materials from wasting our time sifting through.
Can I just ask, was any of that brought up since Wednesday? Did you talk to Jamie? Did you talk to Sean? Did you talk to anybody to help correct that in a positive way?
I work all week.
Did you or did you not?
I had to go through this during the weekend
Okay.
while I was
All right.
camping.
But it came out
But thank
Wednesday
you.
and you didn't bother to
It
talk to
doesn't,
anybody
it
at
doesn't
all?
matter.
Just,
It doesn't matter.
it
It's
does
not
that-
my job.
it does matter. It does matter.
It's not my job.
Mhm. Good job. Okay, anything else on regarding quarterly update?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When are we supposed to get started on that this summer?
It depends on how you guys give me direction on number 61.
Fair enough.
Excellent. All right, that was our discussion on 49. New business 50, discussion and or action on trustee vacancy for the term ending April 19th, 2027. This was put on the agenda to decide if we're gonna go appointment, solid by the president, appointment, selection by the board with resumes like we did the last time when we filled Joe Jordan's position, or the possibility of going to a election with a 1 year or a 2 year finish date. So that's what's on the table. The last time we did Joe Jordan, I believe, filled that last trustee with Hardinger gone. I believe the board unanimously decided on to get together and do interviews and resumes, and I believe we had 8 people. And the day of the interviews, 2 of them pulled out. So we had 6 that we interviewed, a short, same question and answer. And then the board voted anonymously by putting names in, and on the first election, Joe Jordan was appointed to fulfill Hardinger's. So what's your, and I believe right now Marathon County did it exactly the same way with number 35 with Langaha. So what's your pleasure? What does everyone believe we should do? I'll go first. I believe we should do it the exact same way we did it when Hardinger left.
I agree.
I agree. Jamie?
Yep, we should have letters of interest, interview process,
Okay,
you know, the right
so that's a
way.
yes.
Not just
Steve?
appoint whoever. you
Husheng?
I agree.
I would agree.
Okay.
I think we're
all
being
right.
consistent that way.
Okay, so, okay, I didn't think that was gonna happen. All right, so, I'm looking for an action, a motion to fulfill it, because we didn't actually do this last time. We just did it. We didn't actually do a motion to do this from the board, so I'm looking for a motion from the board that we ask, what? No? Oh,
Trustee Cronin asked.
I was just questioning if we didn't make a motion.
We didn't make
I
a
know-
formal
We
motion.
did not make a formal, we looked back, actually Jamie and I looked back to see what we did, because I wanted to see what we did the last time we filled Hardinger. And that's how we did it, so I believe there was 6. It was a 4 to nominate Joe, and I think 2 were otherwise, okay. So,
With the motion, I just want to give people a timeline to fill out applications. I would assume 2 follow-up questions. One, if I applied previously, do I need to reapply, or would we accept an application from the prior submittal when we had the 8?
I think that everyone has to reapply.
Okay.
That's my opinion. What does everyone else believe?
I would agree.
Okay. Jamie?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we're looking for a motion, action on following that same procedure.
And timeline for when we would want applications due? Do you want interviews at the next meeting? Obviously, by the time you advertise, you get them back. I just want to make sure that we,
I think that's a doable point. I believe we can interview at the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Does everybody else agree?
I would agree.
Yes,
The
okay.
longer we stay
Yep,
vacant, the
I agree. Okay.
okay,
Okay, for the record, can I just ask, I don't mean to be mean, but why didn't we do this with Hushang's spot? Why didn't we follow that procedure for that vacancy?
I chose not to.
Thank you.
He got 2,200 votes.
Well,
He did
he fell
everything.
short and he was the runner-up, so I
Yep,
just,
I
it was up
went
to
on,
you
I went
and
on,
that's-
it is up to
Yep.
me and I made that decision.
Okay.
I went on record way prior to it happening that it wouldn't have mattered which one wouldn't have got in. That's the one I was going to appoint.
And the board.
Now, the
chose
board chose to
bypass
go with that.
transparency.
No, not at all.
Yes, you
No,
did.
well, that's your opinion.
Mr. Maloney, point of order.
Yep.
We just adopted 9 rules of civility
Yep.
and the two of you collectively
Mhm.
are going back and forth and interrupting each other and it
I
needs to
apologize.
stop.
I apologize. All right,
I don't
so.
think anybody interrupted each other.
We both were talking over each other.
All right, so we're looking for an action on this from the board. Go ahead, somebody.
I make a motion to follow the same procedure as we did for appointment to a vacancy on the trustee board. For the opening that will be ending in April 19th, 2027.
Okay, motion by Ermeling,
Second?
second by what? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 51, discussion and or action on president's appointments to committees and or commissions. So the openings we have. Let's hold on here, just in front of me. So we're looking for a chair for Clips. We're looking for oversight board. And we're looking for a EMPD, Everest Metro Joint Finance. I believe that's it. There is one opening in finance, correct?
That's citizen.
I'm sorry, yeah, for citizen, yep. And I think, are we accepting people there right now?
We can put out applications.
Yeah, okay. So the two appointments I have for the oversight board is Steve Cronin, and Everest Metro Joint Finance is Steve Cronin. That's who I would like to appoint to those two. The Everest Metro Board Joint Finance should be finishing here soon, hopefully. And the oversight board is with a resignation from a trustee. We need to fill that. What's your pleasure?
I would like to request being reappointed to Mountain Bay Metropolitan Police Department Oversight Committee.
I asked you 3 weeks ago and I asked you to get back to me, and now this is when you're gonna tell me that?
Yes.
I asked you 3 weeks ago after the oversight, actually a month ago, I asked you if you would consider it. You said you would get back to me.
I'm getting back to you.
Okay,
Motion to approve Steve Cronin.
Second.
motion by Ermeling to approve Steve Cronin to the oversight board and the EMPD joint finance by Ermeling, seconded by Zagami. Any more in the discussion?
I have a quick, something I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say my hope would be that this would be somewhat temporary, that once we get someone else appointed, that we could revisit this.
We need somebody in those spots right now with things that are coming up. I am gonna intentionally, and if I didn't say this, I should have, I'm gonna intentionally leave the clips open for that. So Barb is gonna run clips through a couple meetings until we get somebody else on board. And then there might be even more rearranging. So we'll have to see. It depends on what the board wants to say.
Well, I
yes or-
assumed that this was temporary
Mhm.
until
Okay.
we can get.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
Okay.
I assumed it, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, so I've had several committee members express their disappointment and asked me to be reinstated. Out of principle, I needed time to think about it.
Mhm.
I was removed without any explanation or discussion. And I believe I deserve to know that, and you didn't give that to me. So out of principle, I needed time to think about it, and I still feel like I deserve that answer. And to be reappointed. to
I was waiting 4 weeks.
oversight.
I was waiting 4 weeks for you to reply. I made the point to go to talk to you after the meeting. I held you there. You kept telling me you had to leave, and I was just trying to get my point across that I wanted to reinstate you. Would you reconsider? And you said, let me
I
have
need
some
to
time
think
to think
about
about it. And you had never called me
It's been a
back.
couple weeks, Mark.
It's been
not
4
been-
weeks. It's been quite a, April,
And why was I taken
Mhm.
off in the first place? Why was I taken off in tourism?
we're going
You don't-
into,
You don't think, you
give me
don't
a
think
call,
that I
give me a
have,
call. I took myself off of tourism also. Give me a call anytime you want. I'm readily available anytime you want to talk. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
opposed?
So carried. Fifty-two, discussion and or action on firearms, weapons being prohibited in the municipal center. As you can see, we've got postings on our building now. And with regards to firearms, weapons being prohibited, I believe the only carry is gonna be an officer attending a meeting. Whether, or on Wednesdays when I believe there's officers in the building. So right now, I think the only exception to the rule is officers.
I
So,
move to remove the gun-free zone signage from the municipal center, thereby allowing responsible citizens to legally exercise their Second Amendment rights in accordance with the state and federal law.
so we have a motion by Wyland to dismiss this and to allow people to carry concealed in the building, citizens. So is there a second to that?
I'll
Is there?
second it just to get it on the floor, and then I have a question right away. if that's
Okay, go ahead, Steve. So second by Cronin.
Well, I have two questions. Chief Hunt, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. My other question is, what does the city of Wassa do? What does Rothschild do? What does every other municipality in the area do? Do they allow weapons in their buildings?
Madison County does.
No, Marathon County does not.
The only one I can answer is Rothschild. And it's been a couple of years ever since open carry or concealed carry came about. They put signage up and nobody carries in the building. So I guess it's the decision of the municipality.
At Marathon County, your security checked when you come through the
Yes.
door.
Oh, the courthouse, yeah, that's a little bit,
Municipal centers, excuse me, sorry. Municipal centers are public, not schools or courts, and that's the difference. Unlike schools or courthouses, which are restricted by specific state and federal laws, a municipal center is not inherently a restricted area. So when you have these gun-free zones, signs do not physically prevent someone from malicious intent. In fact, many argue these signs can create soft targets, and law-abiding citizens are disarmed while those with criminal intent are not deterred. Facts.
Well, those are opinions, not facts. So, yeah, well, they're not facts. So, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? So what we're voting for right now is to stop this and dismiss this and pull all the signage off of our building. Okay, that's what we're doing. All right, so all those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
No.
I believe that's, do we want a roll call on that? I believe we have a no from Cronin, a no from Zagami, a no from Ermeling, and a no from Maloney. And I believe we have a yes from Jordan and a yes from Wyland. So the no's stop that action. And now do we need an action to approve? Yes. So now I'm looking for an action to approve the weapons being prohibited.
I move to acknowledge and accept the police protection services and the municipal court services. Wait a minute, I got the wrong one.
Yeah, you got the
here.
wrong one.
So I move to prohibit firearms in the municipal center, to keep our signs, and other than police will not carry firearms. I just,
Okay.
I lost it on my, well, there wasn't, okay, never mind, I had a kind of wing.
Wasn't a prompt.
You okay? I mean, you wanna say it out loud or get it in the record or something or what?
I did.
You're fine. I know you did. Okay, good for you. So we have a motion by Ermeling. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Zagami. Any more on the question? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
No. So we have 4 yeses and 2 nos, so it follows through. Motion approved. 53, discussion and or action on cellular phone use by trustees during municipal meetings.
All right.
It's come to, go ahead. It's come to a lot of us that, you know, that some of us are on phones, some of us aren't. And I think we've got to pay attention. The last meeting, it was observed that trustee Wyland was on her phone almost all night long during closed session also. And it caused a lot of discussion. Well, it's true. And it caused a lot of discussion, and we need to have kind of a point of order here on phones. You can certainly have your phones here. I mean, you can certainly contact, you know, someone at home or let them know that you're gonna be a little late. But to have constant dialogue, you know, back and forth, we don't know who's, you know, talking, who's this, especially in closed session. So we wanted to bring this up and discuss and or possible action, but cellular phones just shouldn't be used, you know, while we're here, while we're doing our job for the residents of the village of Weston. And to have someone on their phone all night long, are they engaged? Do they understand what's happening? Are they voting correctly? Or do they have a litany of other people helping them with that vote when one person was elected? So that's our discussion. Anybody else?
Yep.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So before we get into this, I'd like to ask who specifically requested this agenda item be added.
I did.
I find the topic both unproductive and inappropriate to discuss at this level. As an elected trustee, I believe cell phone use during public meetings is a matter of personal discretion. We're trusted to manage our responsibilities professionally. If there are concerns, the proper channel is an open record request. That process already exists. Closed session requires confidentially by law, but during open meetings, using a phone shouldn't be seen as inappropriate or suspicious. That said, I want to make it clear I'm a responsible adult fully capable of knowing what is and what isn't appropriate when it comes to phone use during this meeting. I run a roadside assistance business, and most of the time I'm using my phone to review the agenda and make notes while on the road. I have young children at home. Children involved in sports, and they cannot drive. I have an open line of communication with them, which in today's world is not just important, it's essential. I will not stop being a parent just because I'm sitting in a 4-hour meeting with 65 agenda items. I'm committed to this board and doing the work, but I'm also committed to my family, and that will not change. I use my phone as a tool. That is what technology is today. I take notes on it, review past materials, and draft help purpose motions when needed. Also, this is how I access my emails, since these outdated computers that are given us at the board meetings don't even have that function. Using my phone improves my ability to contribute effectively. I move to postpone this agenda item indefinitely. This topic is not productive or necessary for board level discussion, and I believe our time is better spent on matters serving our community directly.
So that's your action.
That is.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none. Action fails. Is there another action, another motion?
I move to direct staff to draft a cellular phone use policy to be presented at the June Board of Trustees meeting.
Motion by Cronin to direct staff to create a cellular phone policy at the June agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Zagami. Any more on the discussion?
I have a
You
couple
won't
things.
stop me from using my phone here, just so you know that. Or my First Amendment rights.
Any more discussion?
I have something I'd like to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my thought on it is, I understand if you have family and you need to say, hey, I'm running late or something like that. That's one thing. But full session, absolutely not. I am not okay with it. That is a confidential, private meeting.
That's what I just said.
I will personally, I know we didn't have cameras in here, but I also saw you on your phone at the last closed session meeting in April, multiple times.
Multiple times.
And it's not okay. So closed session, absolutely not. I don't know how the wording needs to be written as far as, as far as for board meetings, but I think it needs to be minimal. I understand if you need to message some family, but other than that, I don't feel.
Matt Eady has advised us already on closed session that if we have to address the closed session, what we're doing. You know, whether we have to let somebody at home know they're gonna be longer or maybe talking to a family member. But we have to, we cannot, he has advised us, we cannot use our phones during closed session, period. Just like we have to ask anybody online as a trustee that they can't move forward in closed session. We don't know who's with them. We don't know where they are at all. So the closed session is absolutely confidential and private, and the phones just can't be used, period.
And that's exactly what I said in my statement here, closed session requires
Mhm.
confidential.
Mhm.
Yes, and so that's, and I apologize if I was on my phone, but
Whoa, you said you weren't. Now you say you're gonna apologize
I
because
don't- I
I
don't
saw
know if
you
I
on your
was,
phone.
but
I-
I will take your word.
Quite a bit. I actually saw you on your phone and I was,
During closed session?
Absolutely.
I don't think so. I
was right
I
here.
don't.
I'm not gonna make this stuff up. I really ain't, Jamie. I'm not that
But
type
if-
of person.
But that's fine. If you wanna take away my constitutional rights.
I believe the same way you do
It's
on
all-
that,
it's
Jamie,
all
and
for
you
the
know it.
record. Yep,
So,
on the record.
all right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Or what kind of policy are we asking them?
We're asking the staff to come up with a cellular use policy by the board at meetings and at closed sessions.
I would, yeah, I think we need that if somebody needs to get in touch, they can say if emergency, they
Mhm.
can, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I have, I guess, I think it's very etiquette to be using the phone when you're in a meeting. Other than, that's me. I'm old fashioned.
Okay, all right, so with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Okay, so the ayes have it. 54, discussion and or action on the Police Protective Services and Municipal Court Services Agreement Amendment number 1.
This would just be an acknowledgement. This amendment number 1 did go through the oversight board, but I just wanted to make sure that the board had saw what the amendments were to the agreement.
I'll move to acknowledge and accept the Police Protective Service and Municipal Court Services Agreement Amendment number 1.
I'll second.
Motion by Zagami, second by Cronin. Any more in discussion? Hearing, go ahead.
Real quick, Chief, do you have anything you'd like to add on this? No? Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 55, discussion and or action on an agreement with the Polco to administer the National Employee Survey and other third-party employee surveys. This was not approved?
This went through HR.
Yep.
And that was last month, but
Oh, it
they-
didn't get
they
on.
would have
Yeah,
to come
it
to
did- yeah,
board.
You're right. Okay.
HR did express a lot of interest in it being done by a third party. I did have in that RFC and I do have in this one, I do think we could do this in-house. Understanding that the third party source is really to keep it totally separate from the anonymity, that people aren't, their results aren't being viewed by someone else within the organization. But I do think that we could do this through our survey 123, but it was approved and moved forward from HR and finance last month.
I think the first one for the entire staff, I think would be good to go this way. And I thought Brent Olson brought up some really good points. And I mean, I don't know, I wasn't gonna speak for you, Barb, but I wasn't exactly sure which way, but I think we all voted unanimously to go yes.
Yeah.
To move it forward, so I would agree. I think we can do it, but I think this would be a nice one to do too. You know, you know, to keep it completely out of anybody else's hands, I think that's a good idea. So, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve proceeding with Pelco for the administration of the NES at the cost of $4,500.
Motion by Ermeling. Is there a second?
No second.
Second by Jordan. Any more on the discussion?
Sure.
Yes.
I think it's 4,500 for 2 years.
It is, the agreement goes for 2 years, but that's assuming that we're gonna do the national employee survey once every 2 years. So the $4,500 is actually, is charged every time you do the national employee survey. You get all the, you get access to their software and you could do smaller surveys, but they charge the $4,500 every time you do the national employee survey. So they do have it as a 2-year agreement that we wouldn't be doing that survey on an annual basis, but in every other year.
Yes, they didn't explain that, but they said 4,500 for 2 years. So
Yeah.
Right. Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 56, discussion and or action on adoption of section 10.26 body camera usage for non-law enforcement personnel in the conduct and behavior chapter of the employee personnel policies and procedures handbook.
I would ask for a motion to defer till next month. Finance and HR made some good points and we're gonna bring it back to them next month.
Okay,
So motion to defer.
so move, Ermeling defer, second by Cronin.
I just had a question, if we can identify who's gonna use it, if it goes to the staff, who's gonna use it?
Yeah, so it's written for the inspection staff, that's who uses it on a regular basis, but we do have within the policy that if you asked in writing and got approval in writing back from the administrator, other staff could if they were in a situation where they felt it was necessary.
And so I missed that part of the meeting tonight. And so if we are talking primarily inspectors,
Yes,
and we're in this with an all-in or not at all, correct? Is it gonna be subjective to the inspectors on when or when not that they get to use it?
it was discussed, it would be within the operation for code enforcement, notice of enforcement action, the detailed property inspections, or at the discretion of the inspector.
So I kind of think we should have, I missed this and I'm sorry, but there's a fail safe here that I think we're missing. I know the inspectors, I know we have good people on staff, but would it be a good policy that prior to either not or using it, that someone else knows? I'm telling you, this is not gonna go good if the inspector gets to pick and choose when they get to turn it on. I just don't believe, how, can I ask the chief? And this is law enforcement. Do they get to choose when they get to turn that on and off?
Oh, they have to have it on all the
They
time.
have to have it on.
Every contact has
And
to. have it.
I'm telling you, talking about phone and security of the phone, I just don't believe that we can have people out there choosing when or when not to use it. It's either we use it all the time or we never use it. I truly feel that that's extremely important. Because if I was someone that I was being inspected and then I was talked to later, a week or two later that, maybe some words were used or whatever. But then I find out that X, Y, and Z doesn't have an inspector with their camera on. I wouldn't be a happy person. Just wouldn't be. So I think if we're gonna talk about this for a month, I think we have to keep that in mind on how we're gonna use that. Or we don't use it at all.
It was part of the discussion at
Okay,
finance
and I
and
missed
HR,
it,
so
and
it is,
I
it will
apologize.
come back next month.
I apologize. All right.
Yeah, because that was the discussion was, do you have it on all the time or? And then the one thing that was added was at their discretion, because if they feel, it was kind of discussed, if they feel that there's something that isn't right or whatever, they can turn the camera on, not just for those individual things. And it was discussed, but it would probably be if they were meeting with a person, not if they're just out there inspecting a fence or something like that.
It's still very subjective. Okay, well, it's gonna go back.
Okay, yeah.
All right, 57, discussion and or action on TIF 1 budget amendments.
That was also.
That was
deferred.
education to deferred back for a month. That was on the hospital road improvements and business park road improvements. That's gonna come back in a month.
Are they gonna
Really just 59, just the hospital area.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, what, Jessica?
Said business parks already approved in the
Okay,
budget.
okay. 58, discussion and or action on business.
Excuse me,
Yep, sorry.
are you gonna bring it back
Yes.
the same way as it is today?
No, we'll add more information to explain the thought process.
It's gonna go to finance committee.
Go to finance and the board, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I have one more quick question
ahead.
as well that I wanted to bring up. Is there an expected use of life left on that road in the by the hospital?
Yes.
Yeah, there is.
How many years does it have left on it at this point?
I mean, if we do nothing, I'd say less than 10. I mean, if we try to. I guess that's what I'd like to bring back is kind of go over that analysis with you guys to, instead of trying to quickly wing it.
I understand. My thought on it was if we can get more life out of it before spending the money to repave it when it's not necessarily at the point it needs to be done yet, then we shouldn't repave it. That's my thought. I just wanted to put that out there when I read through this, that
And some of the other side was that in 5, 6, 7 years, we'd be taking a loan out for it.
okay.
And so
Yeah.
that was the
The funding mechanism is
That was the
main
back and
point.
forth. And Brent and I believe Dennis asked about the Pacer, information. They just felt like they didn't have enough information and that's why they deferred it to next month. Which we all agreed on.
Did you have any questions at Public Works where they approved the bid package for the hospital area?
No, Public Works was,
Okay, I was
good with
just
that.
curious, I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. And I did phrase it that way with Public Works, is they were just looking at the bid results and making sure those were, and the financing part would be contingent on finance
Usually
approving.
finance, they just make sure that it's affordable to the taxpayers. They
Correct.
don't care about the roads, usually that's Public Works.
So, where are we then? Are we business park repaving bid? These are gonna be waiting.
58 you can take action on, that was in the budget.
Okay, discussion or action on business park repaving bid results. It's your pleasure.
I move to award the 2025 business park repaving project to RC Pavers based on their total bid of $667,490,000.15.
Motion by Cronin, second by Wyland. Any more in discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 59 is deferred. Correct. 60, discussion or action on Ross Avenue Bridge deck repairs. You want to get that up for action and discussion or what?
I move to approve the bridge deck repair quoted from Norcon for an estimated cost of $9,293. That's a good price.
So, motion by Zagami. Second by Jordan on the question. I have one.
Yeah.
So this is in Dan's world. This was in Dan's world. This was with Farner. And this was a 2-week project that lasted 7 to 8 or 9 weeks. I thought it was the most poorly handled project I've ever seen. And I lived there. I was across it 3 times a day. I was positive that Farner was supposed to come back and resurface that bridge. That's what we're talking about. And I asked Dan several times before he left, why they never have come back and resurfaced that to make it smoother. And Steve, you remember this, you lived back there at that time. And I guess that never happened, right?
They came back and that's why if you look at it, there's discolored because there's 2 different, the polymers that were used. So the main color was the first time and the more of a grayish or almost clear looking color that was the repairs that they made.
I was personally assured by Dan that would be handled. I mean, the entire project, I know these guys are the best, they're unbelievable. I'll have a hard time voting yes ever again. And Norcon, I've seen their work, they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
And for them to do this project and at that price, like Hussein just said, I can't, I'm so happy that Norcon's gonna do this. I'm thrilled to death.
Yeah, and this is just taking care of a few of the spalls that have popped off over the last few years.
Yeah.
So the goal would be that every, the bridge is gonna flex, these things are gonna happen. So every, 3 to 5 years, we'll probably have one of these smaller repair projects that'll take, they're estimating 3 days to start to finish.
It's a week. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
week and they're gonna go on both sides, yeah. Steve just had his, then back to you, Hussein.
I guess my question was, is this gonna at all address the smoothness of that? Because to your comment, and I understand why we did the rehab initially, but I felt that it was actually worse after we did the rehab. And I drove that bridge multiple times a day for a lot of years.
I understand the structure of the bridge, because that was the main component. But then when they left it, there was patches of it And then whether you say it war or not, but they were supposed to come back the next year, Farner, I mean, or Dan telling me that they were gonna come back. And I never saw them come back. Shane?
I think you should get the schedule.
Yeah, so, put it in there, thought I did, they're starting, their plan is June 9th. So
And they're gonna use the
How many
automated lights?
How many days is it gonna take?
they said 3 days, so they'd kind of get set up on Monday, start work on Tuesday, and they should be done by Thursday.
Wow,
About how
that's
long do you
fast.
have to keep it closed for clear?
Just so half at a time.
Yeah, so they'll leave one lane open for traffic.
Yeah.
And then I think it's a 24-hour cure and then switch people over.
And they'll use automated lights like they've done in the past. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
Do you wanna probably discuss some of this concern here,
Yeah, no,
please?
they know.
Okay.
Yeah, Norcan. does
Yeah,
really
Norcon
well.
is pretty good.
Norcon does
I
really
think
well.
they listen. So I think you should discuss it with.
No, I lived on the north side while that last one was
Yeah, you
going on
did.
too.
That's right, you
So
did.
I felt the pain.
Well, it's not as bad as going off the clocks.
Yeah.
So going off the clocks would have been real pain. All right, so any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 61, discussion and or action on Kennedy Park Phase 1 BB bid result. Got this? Oh,
I didn't see a bid tab.
So we only had one bidder, so I just put in their entire bid,
So
I
there's no
thought,
bid
yeah.
tab,
correct?
right?
Yeah,
no.
Okay.
yeah, we received just the one bid from PGA for the project. There were a couple other general contractors that had the plan sets. My understanding is one of them on the Friday previous had received a different project, and they no longer needed work, so they did not pursue it. Actually, two of them that I've talked to had that occurred for, and I'm not sure why the third one didn't submit a bid, but there was, I would say, about over 20 plan holders, so I mean, there was a lot of interest. So some of these projects are a little more intricate and it involves a lot of different subcontractors, so.
So what was the engineer estimate?
So for this, it was actually pretty close. I think I ran through that. Yeah, so for, the original estimate for field one was 985, so our bid was just over 1,090,000, so and that was then about 10% there. The retaining wall on that one really was the main difference. The retaining wall came in about $100,000 more than expected, so otherwise field one was more or less right on, and then field two actually was estimated at 865, and that came in at 642, so field two actually came in a little under. And then the site work and some of the stormwater management facilities were higher. I think there's just a little more earthwork than initially anticipated to make it all happen.
So part of that, the engineering fee is also part of it, right?
So there was no,
There, that's what I was.
the engineering was just design survey. There's no like a percentage
So those
fee.
numbers are for design?
None of that is design. That is the bid. That is all
It's about
just bid.
60,000, that's roughly.
Can you rephrase the question?
There's $60,000 engineering fee in there. At 3 different locations, 20,000, 18,000. I just rough it out. There's nothing wrong with it. It should be there for inspection and that sort of things, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, we don't have, I guess, the inspection included in, and that was
so
just,
those are cannot be part of construction costs. If he's adding all those numbers together.
so that is the construction bid. It's not additional engineering services.
Okay.
I have a couple questions about the revenue for Kennedy Park at the moment. Because I have some different numbers here, but maybe they're not updated.
Yeah, they're not perfect, I guess, but.
Yeah, I have something completely
Yeah.
different from parks. And it's Sarah's and Chicken Scratch before the meeting. But, okay, so ARPA funds, it says 818, and I know that we put in 766, so we're.
I have a nice documentation under my report that nobody ever wants to talk about, but it really shows in all the incomes, the revenues coming in for Kennedy Park, and it also shows all the expenditures to date for Kennedy Park. So it really explains what's available and what the uses are right now.
We had savings with some of for the parks playgrounds, and that got applied then to. There was savings in those costs, so that got applied then to Kennedy.
Under your report, right? Yes.
Yeah, I have it up on the screen too.
Yep. Okay, thank
Here
you.
are the expenditures, and again, this is village funds.
What was the thing on the dugouts? I mean, you said you got in there. The dugouts were high and maybe doing a different design. How would that change?
And we could look at a different, they're currently bid as masonry dugouts. If we wanted to look at alternate options on that, that would be less expensive. That's a possibility. I mean, currently we have chain link ones. I do know though, I believe some of the discussions with one of the donors currently was with the masonry dugout, so that may not be an option if that was kind of if that would be a sticking point with them, so.
Well, I was just kind of wondering what you were looking
Yeah,
at.
I mean, as we look at it, are there items that we could still modify? We bid it as kind of the ideal, like this is the want. And then the alternates removed, turf from the outfield and made it grass, or instead of using netting, we used chain link fence. So just using those two examples, those alternates bring it down. I wanna say it's over $200,000. Almost 300,000. The turf, removing the turf is a $94,000 deduct for the outfield for both fields. And the netting to chain link fencing is a 37,000 deduct for each field, so.
Okay. Any more discussion? A motion in a second on the floor?
I move to recommend awarding the Kennedy Park reconstruction project to PGA Inc. for a total project bid amount of $2,212,584.23.
Motion by Cronin,
I'll second.
second by Wyland. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain? Okay, so noted that Husheng Zagami abstained and all the rest were in the affirmative of aye. Okay? So motion carries. 62, discussion and or action on sale of 4 Badger books to interested municipalities.
I move to allow the village clerk to sell 4 Badger books to interested municipalities at an amount of $300 for all 4 devices.
For all 4 or each?
All four.
All 4, okay. Motion by Cronin,
Second.
second by Jordan. On the question.
Quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
What did these cost initially?
There were 1,600, like somewhere around 1,600 for the Badger book, and then $400 for the accessories. And they're 6 years old.
6 years old.
They can only be used for electronic poll books. And the ones we're getting rid of, we would be selling the server and 3 clients. We would probably pick the ones that we've had most issues with, because sometimes they freeze,
Okay,
because they're getting old.
Okay.
it's a lot of money for twice a year.
Yep, was there
Is it
one
just
more?
the state, is that what the state uses? So that's why we have to, I guess I'm just asking.
Badger books is put up by the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
Okay, so that's the only option we have.
Right now, yep.
But the other option would be to go totally
Yeah,
paper, which
paper.
would not be,
Yeah.
it would take a super long time to check everyone in just by paper.
Good.
Okay, and what, does anyone have one more question? Somebody else, I thought?
Well, just I was gonna ask the same thing, and that we don't need these anymore, or we get new ones.
We had budgeted some funds in the year that we did not have as many elections, we took some of the savings that we would have for election inspectors working, and we set those funds aside to purchase new Badger books.
I can kind of vaguely. do that, but-
Okay. So without any more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Attorney referrals. Hearing none. Administrator referrals. Hearing none. Remarks from trustees. Jordan? Well, I'll just come right to you. Jordan? Any? No, Wyland?
Okay, you might not like him. Okay, so let's see, first of all, I'm going to specifically ask again for pet licensing fees to come back onto the board for discussion. The first request. Yeah, I would like specifically to ask for pet licensing fees to be on the agenda for next month. I was ignored the first time.
By who?
Whoever makes the agenda.
By who? Well,
By-
who? By who?
Pam.
Okay, so Pam
I
ignored
don't
you.
make the agenda.
What's that?
I
Jamie?
take. What exactly do you want? Can
Yeah.
you specify what exactly you want to talk
Well,
about?
where pet fee, the licensing, pet fees are going. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
Yes.
and if we could, I guess I just really get frustrated how we recommend motions. If we could, it appears to be biased towards one outcome, so if we could have an option for each, that would be great.
Explain. I just need to understand what you're saying.
Well, it appears that when we have a motion, it always goes one way, a motion to approve. There's not any other recommended motion,
Okay,
right?
so you should, you
So
think.
it's biased
okay.
towards one way.
The only piece I will say about that is a lot of us understanding we don't do parliamentary procedure, but many of us that took that training said it's, you shouldn't be doing the motions in the negative. So motions should always be phrased in the positive, and if it's voted down, then it fails. But to phrase a motion in the negative gets confusing in a meeting. That's the only piece I think that's why we often phrase them in the affirmative, because then you would vote no, instead of phrasing them in the negative, because then I think public gets confused and says, well, you voted no, does that mean that it is a yes?
We'll just maybe give alternative options. So it's given, equal detail. So you're not gonna like this one. I'm just seeing a disturbing pattern. I knew the votes were gonna go 5-1. I'm not surprised, but I'm seeing a disturbing pattern from our administrator that threatens our constitutional rights. I'm deeply concerned about this. First, there's an attempt to restrict personal cell phone use by elected officials, even though we rely on them for family, business, and official duties. Closed session is different. Next, the so-called peace civility initiative is less about encouraging respectful dialogue and more about imposing speech restrictions to silence opposing voices. This is about control by the administrator trying to limit our freedoms. Now efforts are underway to restrict Second Amendment rights by posting gun-free zone signs at our municipal center, a public building, not a school or courthouse. Allowing legal carry is not promoting violence. It's a safeguard for our freedom and personal safety. I'm ashamed of this administration and any board member who supports these efforts. Thank you for taking away our constitutional rights. Are we seriously trying to strip away fundamental freedoms here in local government? Because that is what this pattern shows. I won't stay silent while our rights are endured under the camouflage of order and civility, not on my watch. Thank you.
Ermeling?
No, I have nothing.
Sagami?
Why is that funny?
Whoa, it's not your remark. It's his remark time, not yours. So Sagami, this is only remarks. This is not discussion between trustees. It's only remarks. That's it.
That's fine.
I wasn't gonna make any remark. I
Okay.
just was gonna say, I can use my computer very well. I can use my phone very well. And I use all my banking online. And I use dealing with my contractor online. I don't have any problem surfing there. So I want to let you know, you don't have to send me any paperwork or anything unless it must be. If it is a plan sheet, 24 by 36, there's no way I can print it. But if it is 12 by 17, 11 by 17, I can print it, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, Cronin?
I just wanna say that I was very encouraged. I know we had some comments tonight about Schofield Avenue, but I was very encouraged to drive through there today and see that they were already pouring curb on the west end. That project was moving extremely quickly, so thank you to Director Wadowski and whoever else has their hands in that project for making that move on at the speed it is.
My remarks are exactly.
President, I
Yeah.
gotta make one more comment. if you don't mind. Mike.
Yep.
He put that water party across the street, he moved it. And that's create a vision barrier.
Okay.
When you stand, the car is like this to get up the slope. And the porta potty is there, you're missing the vehicle coming. There is a blind spot in there. You gotta move it, let's put it that way,
All right, I'll talk to him tomorrow.
please.
I also want to concur that Schofield Avenue is record speed. I'm actually shocked on what I can see on a daily basis. Hugely excited, and I'm not a real big fast food guy. I know I look like it, but I'm not. But to see orange on Fuzzies already with A&W is pretty exciting. I've heard a lot of comments on that. And let's see, that's about all I have. Today's my birthday, 66 today, so thanks for remembering. I appreciate it. I actually am very glad nobody said anything. And it is what it is. So, and Food Truck Fridays at Patriot Auto, right, Jim? Food Truck Fridays at Patriot?
President comment.
Okay, then don't talk back. Okay, I just read your sign, that's all.
I had one thing. I wanted to thank Michael for filling the hole with blacktop on Alderson Street. Because I got more people saying, and that one day I went down there and I go, oh, this is a pretty good hole, but then the next time I looked, it was filled with dirt, and then the next time it was blacktop, so thank you.
Well, that was WPS's doing. We just reminded them that they needed to fill the hole, so.
Okay, well,
All right, future items, next meeting date, Monday, June 16th, 2025, 6 p.m. And looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Cronin, second by Ermeling. All those in favor say aye.
I,
We are adjourned at 8:15. Thank you all.
well, after that, I'm gonna